Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters here on France 24. In today's programme, running away from Ramadi, thousands of Iraqis hope to find safety in Baghdad, but not everyone is being allowed into the nation's capital. A year without a president, lawmakers in Lebanon failed to find a candidate for the post as sectarian divisions, personal rivalries and other countries influence their decision. And lights, camera, accident. Film sets are now officially recognised as dangerous workplaces in Turkey as soap operas get longer, leading to an increase in injuries. On the run after Ramadi was taken over by the Islamic State group, thousands of Iraqis are scrambling towards their capital, but not all of them are being allowed in. The jihadists' advance in the Anbar province has increased the threat on Baghdad, meaning that security into it has been stepped up. Lucy Provan reports.
Walking by sheer will, a grandmother grips onto the arms of her sons. It's 45 degrees. The Islamic State group has forced this exodus. Some come from Ramadi, others from the countryside around. They're all on the run, terrorised.
The men from the Islamic States group arrive and they just massacre everyone, big and small. They even kill children.
They killed the policemen and their families, all the security forces that were there. We gathered up our belongings and ran away.
In just 1 week, 55,000 Iraqis have abandoned their homes. They've walked for hours with only the clothes on their back, 70 kilometres over the other side of this bridge, Baghdad. There's a constant stream of refugees to this crossing point to the capital, and with them the fear that a suicide bomber could cross over by hiding himself in the crowd. To enter, you need the right credentials. Only those who have someone to attest for them in Baghdad are allowed to cross. Others stay blocked on the other side of the bridge, in the heat and dust, with nowhere to go. On the road to Baghdad, the incessant movement of troops and constant checkpoints. The fall of Ramadi has seriously increased the threat to the capital. There's not a neighbourhood or road not manned by security forces. Here, elite troops are deployed to track down any infiltration. At every car search, the same fear that there might be an explosion.
We've detected that there's something abnormal here. We're checking that there are no explosives or weapons.
A false alarm this time, but a long line of cars is built up. Baghdadis are exasperated.
Look to the people, it's too hot.
But even these measures can't stop bomb attacks happening here every day.
A UN envoy has urged Lebanon to pick a president. The post, the Middle East's only Christian presidency, has been vacant for a full year now. Lawmakers failed to agree on a candidate, sectarian divisions, personal rivalries and outside influences all playing a part in the stalemate, as Rochelle Harrison-Pless explains.
Lebanese leader Michel Sleiman bows out on the 25th of May 2014. That was 1 year ago. Since then, the post of president has been vacant, for Lebanon's MPs can't agree on a candidate. Sectarian divisions, personal rivalries and competition between regional states have long blighted the country's politics. But the deadlock can only be broken if a compromise is reached by at least 2/3 of lawmakers.
As you can see, there's no one left. Nobody's been here for a year. We've been here 23 times in this room trying to make something happen, but there were never more than 60 of us. Our colleagues never came. They've not allowed us to obtain a quorum.
Lebanon was once supervised by Syria and its president largely decided by Damascus. But after massive demonstrations in 2005, the Syrians backed away. Since then, Lebanese politics has been split into two camps. On one side, the anti-Syrian group supported by the West and Saudi Arabia. On the other, the pro-Syrians led by armed Shiite movement Hezbollah, with Iran as a main ally. In 2008, Qatar stepped in to end a 7-month power vacuum, an unlikely scenario today, according to some.
Those who are able to elect a president are awaiting an agreement between Iran and Saudi Arabia or a decision by the West that would designate our president. And right now the region is divided. There's a lot of tension and competition between countries. Lebanon is not a priority.
As for the Lebanese people, they're torn between anxiety and indifference.
I think this is a disaster. I fear that this is leading us to a complete political void.
It's always been like that, and always we come out of it as if nothing happened. That's Lebanon and the Lebanese.
In Lebanon, the president is without any real power, but is an important figurehead on the global stage. Today, it's up to the interim government to assume all executive powers. Not an easy task when MPs are struggling to make decisions and the parliament is barely functioning.
Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert has been sentenced to 8 months in prison. Olmert was found guilty last March of fraud, breach of trust and unlawfully accepting cash-stuffed envelopes from an American supporter. His lawyers say they will appeal the sentence. Meanwhile, Israel's current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has formed a new coalition government which leans to the far right. Palestinian officials quickly labelled it a government of war. They accuse it of being dominated by figures whose agenda is to advance settlers' interests and make life impossible for non-Jewish people in the territories. To see what the people living there think, Gallagher Fenwick headed to one town in the West Bank famous for its weekly demonstrations in which locals face off with Israeli soldiers.
بتطخ على مين انت؟ بتطخ على اطفال، بتطخ على دور، على ناس مش عاملين ولا شيء كلب ولك، كل سلاح الدنيا معك، كل سلاح الدنيا معك ضدنا، ضد اطفال صغار ولك.
Every Friday, residents of this small town in the West Bank protest against the occupation and colonization. They accuse the settlement on the opposite hill of having grabbed land and a well. 2 Palestinian youths have been killed here since the protesting began back in 2009.
Every Friday we repel them and they shoot live bullets at us in return.
The emblematic confrontation between Nabi Saleh and the military, already lasting for years, may have recently taken a new turn. 4 years after handing out demolition orders, Israeli forces have carried out their threat. This local activist states that they raised this uninhabited structure to send a clear message.
It's their way of telling us we can come at any time and destroy any house we want in the village. This is their way of trying to stop the movement of popular resistance and our peaceful marches.
Manal Tamimi has been watching the latest developments from afar. She says an Israeli army sniper shot her in the leg last April. She is convinced that the worst is yet to come.
More settler violence, more house demolition, more prisoners, more martyrs, and all this gonna be under one excuse, which is securing settlers' life.
While settlements expand, the violence continues unabated and tensions run high in many parts of the West Bank. Out here, no one believes that Israel's new government will bring positive change to the lives of Palestinians.
Good for them that they picked a racist government. We picked resistance forever, until liberation.
According to the families who live here, 12 more houses in Nabi Saleh still have demolition orders pending.
Well, while being a TV soap opera star may sound like a glamorous job to some, film sets have been classified as dangerous work sites by Turkey's Ministry for Labour, which showed durations now running to over 2 hours an episode. The working days are long, meaning many actors and producers involved turn to drugs to keep up, and workplace accidents are increasingly common.
There's no time to hang around here on the set of soap opera Matter of Respect, one of dozens of Turkish series. The pressure is on for the actors and production staff. This 2-hour, 20-minute episode needs to air in just 6 days.
We work 6 days a week because we have to produce a 140-minute episode in 6 days. We receive a script of between 92 and 95 pages long per week, and we work at least 12 hours a day. Most of the time it's more like 14 to 16 hours.
Episode durations have doubled in recent years as TV channels squeeze in more and more commercials. But for the majority of the 10 to 15,000 Turkish actors and technicians, it's a struggle to keep up the pace of production.
People take a lot of drugs, things to calm the nerves or to improve their endurance. There are a lot of drugs going round because it's physically impossible to endure so much pressure.
Along with drug abuse, another repercussion of the hectic schedule is an increase in workplace accidents. So much so that in January the Ministry of Labour classified drama sets as dangerous workplaces, following street protests by the industry. Sets are now subject to regular security inspections.
All sets are a dangerous place to work. So what will change? It means that every set has to have a security expert working with them. No exception.
But many professionals in the industry are working on a freelance basis, without contracts, and therefore have no social security or medical insurance. This young actress wasn't paid for her work on episodes of a series that weren't broadcast due to low ratings.
The series ended last June, and I'm an actress and I haven't been paid for several episodes that have been filmed already. So I filed a suit on my own against the producer to try and recover some money. I did that on an individual basis.
The industry as a whole is not short of money. A 2014 report by consultancy firm Deloitte claimed that Turkish dramas reach up to 400 million viewers in 75 countries and brought in more than $150 million of export income in 2013. That hasn't stopped climbing popularity, creating real-life behind-scenes drama.
Well, we leave you now with a glimpse of an exhibit of work by Iranian-American artist Shirin Nesat. It's on show in Washington, just a few steps from Capitol Hill. Black and white photographs and videos that represent her own life, but also movement in Iran from the early 50s to the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The oppression but resistance of women, the artist says. 58-year-old Nesat lives in a self-imposed exile in New York. Her work has yet to be shown in Iran and she hasn't returned there since the mid-90s. That wraps up this week's show. Do take care.